I wasn't supposed to be home that early. That's the only reason I saw it. Her car, parked in a driveway I didn't recognize half a mile from where she worked late. At first I actually laughed to myself. Like, of course it's not hers. Same model, same color, my brain trying to make excuses before I even knew I needed them. I drove past once, then again slower. My hands were sweating on the wheel. I told myself I was being ridiculous, that I was turning into one of those paranoid partners I always swore I'd never be. But then I saw the little dent on the rear bumper. The one I had helped her fix with her brother months ago. That exact dent. I remember just sitting there in traffic, staring at it like it had betrayed me personally. She had texted me 20 minutes earlier. Still stuck at work, don't wait up, Red Heart. And there it was. Parked. Silent. Real. I didn't go in right away. I just stayed in the car, trying to convince myself there was a normal explanation I was too stupid to see. There wasn't. I kept telling myself I should leave. That I was invading her privacy, that I was spiraling over nothing. But my body didn't listen. I walked closer like I was underwater. Each step felt delayed, wrong. The house looked normal, too normal. Lights on in the living room. Soft movement behind the curtains. I remember thinking, if I see her inside, I'll know. I just didn't know what I meant by that yet. Then I saw her. Through the window. My girlfriend, sitting on a couch that wasn't ours. And next to her, someone I didn't recognize at first. A man. Close. Too close. They were laughing. The kind of easy laughter you don't fake. The kind you build over time. I stood there frozen, like my brain refused to file the information correctly. Because this wasn't just work running late. This was a second life I hadn't been invited into. And I still hadn't knocked. I think part of me was hoping reality would glitch if I waited long enough. It didn't. I don't remember deciding to go to the door. I just remember suddenly being there, my fist hovering like it belonged to someone else. When she opened it, her face didn't show shock right away. It showed confusion. Then recognition. Then something that looked like fear. "Why are you here?" she asked. Not, "What's wrong?" Not, "Are you okay?" Just that. Behind her, I could see him standing up slowly, like he already knew he was part of the problem. I couldn't speak for a second. My throat felt locked. I just asked, "Whose car is that?" She looked past me, toward the street, like she was checking if I meant it. Then she said my name softly, like she was trying to calm a child. That tone. I remember that tone more than anything. Because it meant she thought I was the unstable one in that moment. And I wasn't. Not yet. I stepped inside anyway. Inside, the house smelled like food I didn't recognize. Like she had been there longer than she ever admitted. The man didn't say much at first. He just stood there, arms folded, watching me like I was an interruption. I asked again, "How long has this been going on?" She tried to laugh. It came out wrong. "It's not what you think," she said. I almost laughed too, because I'd heard that line in jokes, in movies, never in my actual life. But my eyes kept scanning details I didn't want: a second phone on the table. A hoodie I'd never seen her wear. A mug that looked too used to be recent. I felt like my brain was trying to build a timeline without asking permission from my emotions. She stepped closer, reaching for my hand. I pulled away instinctively. That's when she finally said it wasn't new. That it had just happened. That she was confused. But nothing about that house looked like confusion. It looked practiced. It looked lived in. The words stopped making sense after a point. She kept talking, but I only caught fragments. "He understands me. You've been distant. I didn't plan it." That last one stuck. Like betrayal needed planning for it to count. I turned to him. Finally looked at him properly. He didn't look guilty. That was the worst part. He looked settled. like I was the one disrupting something stable. I asked him, "Do you know about me?" He hesitated. That hesitation said everything. She answered instead, "It's complicated." I remember feeling something shift inside me. Not anger yet. Something colder. Like my feelings were being pulled out one by one. I asked how many times. She didn't answer. He did. "Enough," he said quietly. And that word, enough, hit harder than anything else that night. Because it implied measurement. Routine. A pattern I had never been part of. I don't remember raising my voice at first. I remember it breaking later. I asked her when it started. She said she didn't know how to define started. Like it had just happened to her. Like she hadn't chosen it. I asked her about the nights she was late at work. The weekends she needed space. The phone she guarded like it was nothing. Each answer came slower. More defensive. More rewritten in real time. At one point she said, "You wouldn't understand what I was missing." That sentence did something to me. It didn't just hurt, it rewrote my past in seconds. Every moment I thought we were fine suddenly felt like I had missed signs I was supposed to see. But I wasn't even angry at first. I was embarrassed. Like I had been the only one playing the relationship correctly. And still losing. We ended up sitting in that living room for what felt like hours, but time was broken by then. At some point I asked if she loved him. She didn't answer immediately. That silence was the answer, even before she spoke. "I don't know," she said finally. He looked away when she said it. That small detail confused me more than anything else. Because even he looked hurt. I stood up then. Couldn't stay seated anymore. I told her I saw her car. I told her I followed it. That's when everything changed. Her expression tightened, like I had crossed the line. Not by being betrayed, but by witnessing it. "You shouldn't have done that," she said. Not, "I'm sorry." Not anything resembling remorse. Just that I shouldn't have seen it. And that's when I realized the worst part wasn't that it happened. It was that she had been managing it. Carefully. Quietly. While I was still calling it trust. I left the house without knowing what I was doing. I just walked out, like staying would trap me in a version of myself I didn't want to meet. She followed me halfway down the driveway. Said my name again and again. I didn't turn around. Not because I was strong. Because I was afraid of what I'd do if I looked at her again. In my car, I just sat there gripping the steering wheel until my hands hurt. Then the anger came. Not loud at first. Controlled. Focused. I replayed everything. The late nights. The vague explanations. The way she stopped asking about my day as much. I started to wonder how long I had been living beside a lie without noticing its shape. And then came something worse than anger. Self-doubt. What if I pushed her there? What if I wasn't enough in ways I refused to see? That thought disgusted me almost more than the betrayal itself. Because it gave her actions a place to hide. The next morning, she came back. Like nothing had happened. She brought coffee. Sat across from me like we were going to have a normal conversation about bills or groceries. I couldn't even look at her properly. She said she didn't want to lose me. But she also said she couldn't just erase what happened. As if it was a memory problem, not a choice. I asked her what she wanted. She said she didn't know? That was becoming her favorite answer. At one point she reached for my hand again. I pulled away again. The distance between us felt physical now, like a wall had grown overnight. I asked if she was still seeing him. She said she didn't know. And I finally realized she wasn't stuck between two people. She was stuck between two versions of herself she didn't want to choose between. And I was the one she expected to wait while she decided. Her family got involved before I even processed it fully. She told them a version of events where things were complicated, where I had followed her, where I was struggling with trust. It felt surreal hearing it repeated back to me by people who didn't see the car, didn't stand in that house, didn't hear the silence. Suddenly I was the unstable one in the story. Her mother asked me to be patient. Her friends avoided me entirely. The man, he stopped answering messages, according to her. Like he had stepped out of the equation, leaving me alone with the consequences. That part hurt more than I expected. Because it meant I was the only one still fully inside it. She started sleeping in another room. We still lived in the same place, but it felt like I was renting space in someone else's ending. I stopped recognizing myself in small ways first. I'd forget conversations mid-sentence. I'd sit in the car after work without going inside immediately. I started replaying that moment at the house over and over, trying to find a version where I missed something obvious enough to excuse everything. But there wasn't one. There was just trust, given freely, and then returned broken. She tried to talk about rebuilding. But rebuilding requires something intact underneath. And I didn't feel intact anymore. I felt edited. Like someone had gone through my life and removed key scenes I didn't know were important until they were gone. At night, I'd lie awake wondering if I ever really knew her, or if I just knew what she let me see. That question didn't leave space for comfort. Only revision. We tried therapy once. It lasted 40 minutes before everything collapsed into silence. She said she wanted honesty. I said I wanted truth. The therapist asked her if she was still in contact with him. She hesitated again. That hesitation did more damage than any confession could have. After that session, she stopped bringing up fixing things. Instead, she started talking about logistics. Who would move out? Who would keep what? Like we were dividing furniture, not a shared life. That shift was quiet, but final in a way I didn't expect. Because it meant she had already moved emotionally. And I was just catching up. The house became unbearable. Every object felt like evidence. I started sleeping on the couch just to avoid the bedroom we used to share. She eventually moved out first. No dramatic goodbye. Just bags, keys, silence. Before she left, she said, "I never meant to hurt you." I asked her if she believed that. She didn't answer. That was the last time we spoke properly. After she left, the silence didn't feel peaceful. It felt occupied. Like she had left behind an echo that still expected me to respond. I kept waiting for the emotional crash everyone talks about. But it didn't come all at once. It came slowly, in pieces I didn't know how to carry. Months passed in a way I can't really explain. I functioned. I worked. I answered messages. But everything felt slightly delayed, like my life was happening a second after everyone else's. I stopped asking people where they were when they said they were busy. That habit died completely. I didn't even realize it until someone pointed it out. Sometimes I still see cars that look like hers and feel that same drop in my stomach. Not pain exactly. Recognition of how fast everything can split into before and after. I don't hate her anymore. That surprised me most. Hate requires energy I don't have for her. What I have left is something duller. Understanding that she chose what she chose, and I was just a part of her life she didn't bring along. I still think about that driveway sometimes. Not because I want answers anymore, but because that's where the version of me who believed everything ended. People ask what I learned, like there's supposed to be a clean lesson wrapped in pain. There isn't. I learned that trust doesn't break loudly. It just stops matching reality. I learned that love can exist alongside things you would never agree to. And I learned that sometimes you don't lose someone in a fight. You lose them in the gap between what they say and what they're already doing. I don't know if I'll ever fully trust the same way again. Maybe that's the real consequence. Not the betrayal itself, but the way it quietly rewrites what normal used to feel like.